Hi guys, it's Andrea or Confessions of a Book Addict. I hope you're doing good today. I want to do my June wrap up. So this month I read 8 books. 4 of them were the Raven Cycle. So let's get started. So the Raven Cycle is by Maggie Stiefvater and it's The Raven Boys, The Dream Thieves, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and The Raven King. Honestly, I got into this because of this cover, which is one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. And I also heard a lot of good things on it on BookTube. So I really enjoyed these. I mean, usually, I say this every time that I don't finish a series all at once. Apparently, I do now. But I did. I read all of them in June. It was about 4 boys who went to like a really preppy school at Aglumby, and a girl named Blue. And she comes from a family of psychics. And then the boys are very different. Some of them have a lot of money. And then there's Adam, who doesn't have a lot of money. And there's some other surprises about the boys in there, too. The book involves, like I said, psychics. And that's not my thing. But what I loved about Maggie's writing is that it was very character-based. So I'm like trash for Gansey and Adam. They're 2 of the best characters I've ever read about, probably. So Adam and Gansey, they touch your heart. They're really good characters. So the Raven Cycle was really good, really easy to get through. I also listened to it. It was a little hard to get into the audiobook because the narrator has a very southern accent. But then as I was going through it, you get so used to it. And for me, I like to read and listen at the same time because, I'm very fortunate at my job. If I have paperwork to do, I can listen to an audiobook at the same time. So the next book I read, which you saw in the last video, I was in the middle of reading it when I filmed my summer TBR, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And this book, it's still, in my head. Whatever I'm reading, it'll still come up. It's about Laszlo, who's a librarian, and he's, obsessed with this town called Weep, which it used to have a real name, and then one day, the magic went away, and that's kind of what stuck, was the term Weep. And it's based on, can he help the people? Can he get to the town of Weep, to the city of Weep? Can he help them? Because they need a lot of help there. And then it's also written in dual perspective, which I did not know when I picked it up. So that was a little bit of a shock when I'm like, wait a second, where did Laszlo go? And then there was another character who I don't want to give too much away, so I won't say who they are. So for the beginning of it, I was like, oh, I miss reading about Laszlo and just trying to plow through the other person's perspective. But towards the end, I mean, all the characters, you love all the characters and you feel for them, and I can't wait for the next one to come out, honestly. I don't know when it's coming out, but I know there's definitely a second book that's gonna be coming out. I'm thinking 2018. The next book I read is A Gathering of Shadows from V.E. Schwab. This is the second book in the series, Darkest Shade of Magic. And these covers are beautiful too. I mean, look at that. That's the first book. And I've already started the third book because it is so good. This is becoming one of my favorite series. When I read the first book, it was, I think, late in last year. And I was just in love with it, and it's such a big series that I'm like, well, I need to switch to something else. As soon as I finished A Gathering of Shadows, I immediately went up to my room and grabbed A Conjuring of Light, because I'm like, all right, I need to know what's going on. So I'm in the process of reading that right now. And I can't say enough about V.E. Schwab's writing. It's beautiful. It almost reminds me of all of my favorite books combined. Her world building is amazing. The main girl character, Lila Bard, I'm not a big fan of. At least I wasn't for the majority of The Gathering of Shadows. She's kind of growing on me now in A Conjuring of Light. But Cal, who, let me backtrack to, I'm not going to talk too much about A Gathering of Shadows since it is a sequel. But A Darker Shade of Magic is about Cal, who's a magician, and he can travel through. There's 4 different types of London. There's Red London, where he normally lives, and that has like very balanced magic. Grey London is like our world right now. White London was like overtaken by a lot of magic, but not completely destroyed, but basically taken over by like 2 evil characters that were twins, and they were ruling White London. And then Black London was just destroyed by magic. So he kind of corresponds between all these Londons. He's one of 2 people who can do this. And he gets something from one of the Londons, and he's not supposed to bring anything back and forth with him. And it's kind of, what happens once Lila, the girl main character who is a thief, what happens when she steals this from him. And that's the basic plot of the first book, A Darker Shade of Magic. A lot of people said they thought it was a weak sequel. I thought it was so good that like I said, I ran upstairs and I grabbed the next book. And I'm listening to that and reading that nonstop, because I was also listening and reading Mistborn from Brandon Sanderson and Scarlet from Marissa Meyer. And those are kind of on hold. Hopefully I will finish those in my July wrap-up, you'll see. And I was enjoying both of those. But this one's so good that every time I do a video, I basically just talk to you about V.E. Schwab. I should just call my channel, hey, let's like V.E. Schwab. The next book I read is one of my favorite authors, Adam Silvera, and it's They Both Die at the End. This is the ARC. It's coming out in September, and he signed it for me, which was cool. And this is really good. Like our world, but in the near future, where there's something called the Death Cast, and you get a call, and in the call you're told you're going to die within those 24 hours, and you don't know how, and you don't know when. There's these 2 characters, Mateo and Rufus. Through circumstances, they both go on this app called Last Friend. So people who might want to help someone who has gotten this Deathcast call, or people who both got the call, can meet up, and they can have, like the best last day ever. So another book I read, which I wanted to read this for a long time, it's The Inexplicable Logic of My Life by Benjamin Alir Sanz. I had to read it off the thing. The brain had to work that way. This was good. He wrote Aristotle and Dante and the Secrets of the Universe, which I really, really enjoyed. This wasn't as good as that, but it was definitely worth reading. It's a story of a character named Sal, who he was adopted by a gay man, so it's very diverse, and he's adopted into a Mexican family, so you have a cultural diversity as well. And to me, it's a very human story. It touches on a lot of different characters who have different backgrounds. There's Sal, Samantha, and then another friend that they have, and they each have different types of families that they come from. You get that father, the adoptive father in this story, where in a lot of YA books they leave out the parents because there's the protagonist is supposed to save the day on their own. But I like that Benjamin Alir Sanz, in both books that I've read, Aristotle and Dante and this one, there's a very strong parent figure in each book. So that's a nice change. So I really loved all the books that I read in June. I read the entire Raven cycle, and I think Strange the Dreamer is the one that really sticks with me the most. I really can't wait for the second book to come out. Obviously, A Gathering Shadows is sticking with me because I'm reading A Conjuring of Light right now, and I just love the characters in it. I like to read character-based books, but even in these books, the world is just as equal as, if not better, than the characters. That's how good that Victoria Schwab's writing is. So let me know what you guys read this past month, or what you plan to read this summer. And if you have any recommendations, I'd love to hear them. Keep reading.